Now I like this subject because of the strong perspective leading back from the right to the left and going through the shadow of the dappled light into the light in the far distance. It should give me what I need to do a sketch, keeping it very simple and focusing on the textures of the paint. Now for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. What I typically do is I do a painting and talk about what I'm thinking as I go at each stage. I'm attracted to this subject because of the way the light is splashed across the road. The darkest part seems to be just to the left of the parapet on the left side. I'll just drop in a few dark accents. I'm choosing watercolor because of the way you can get things to sparkle in watercolor like no other medium. I'm using a homemade easel that's set up on a camera tripod. There's a link to tell you where you can find out more about sketch easels. Here I'm using the tip of the brush to define the leaves and to leave some white areas for the bright light bouncing off the leaves. And Smooth, the husky mix, wants to explore around. I want to take a minute to show you an exercise that you can do yourself to experiment with some of the things I'm doing on this painting. I have two colors, Hooker's Green and Burnt Sienna. And what I want to do with Hooker's Green is to paint a tone and leave some white areas, like I was doing with the leaves a minute ago. This one way to do it is deliberately designing each shape. But another way to do it is to load the brush with some pigment and then drag it along the surface. You need to have fairly textury paper for this. It doesn't work with real smooth, shiny, flat paper. This is watercolor paper in a watercolor sketchbook. You can display the tip a little bit, but what I'm trying to get here are some light dots against that background tone. And then I'm going to try to do the reverse of that for the bottom part, to put some pigment in the brush and let it get a little bit dry in the brush and just drag it across the very tops of the texture of the paper to get some dark dots. So white dots on the top, dark dots on the bottom, and I call this the salt and pepper exercise because the top section looks like salt and the bottom section looks like pepper. You can also spatter some dots by flicking the brush. If the brush is springy enough, it'll send little dots in sort of a random way on the surface. So there's the salt and there's the pepper. And this is what I love about watercolor, is that you can get these textures quite easily with rough paper. Let's try those techniques on the painting. I'll try springing some of that splatter along the middle of the road to look like gravel. I can also stipple with the tip of the brush. Or drag the brush lightly in perspective. along the middle of the road or the sides of the road where it's darker. Well, I'm almost finishing up now, and so it's a matter of deciding where I want to put those dark accents. I can put them with the side of the brush by dragging the brush sideways over the paint surface, allowing the texture of the paper to carry the pigment on the tops of the little mountains of paper. And then I want to give some consideration to the outside edge of a informal vignette like this by carrying some of that texture across, and then I'm going to want to paint some tone down over that texture, that pepper in the foreground. Along the outside edge of the vignette, I try to include some of the characteristic textures of that area. So if I have grass, it might be some vertical strokes. If I have leaves, it might be some leaf-like strokes. And if it's the edge of gravel, I want to have some stippling. And let's just bring a tone over that whole thing. If I can build up the bead a little bit here, the bead is the little ridge of water at the bottom edge. That'll dry up to a nice, definite edge. Watercolor is great for this kind of technique because it naturally lends itself to a sparkling effect and really gives a feeling of bright light.